Hello everyone, today we're going to work a little bit more on partitions. So just to kind of go back to the beginning, in order to do a partition we need a directed line segment, and that's just a line segment from one point to another point in the coordinate plane. The components of directed line segment AB shown below are x2 minus x1 and y2 minus y1, and the components describe the direction and the length of the directed line segment. Okay, so since I have, this is called my first point and that's called my second point, this is a directed line segment. So we're starting at A and we're going to B. Another example, the components of PQ are 9 minus 5 and 6 minus 4, which are 4, 2, and they tell you that a route from P to Q is 4 units right and 2 units up. Note that the components are used in the slope, so I could also find the slope from those components. And when we use a directed line segment, pay close attention to the beginning and end points of the line. Okay, so if we're told that we have line segment PQ, that means that we have to start at P and we're going towards Q. P has to be our first point in that case. But if we said QP, that means we're starting at Q and we're going towards P. Okay, they both have the same length, but they go in different directions. So our partition would show up a little bit differently. So the formula for partitions, we talked about this the other day, but just to kind of review, if I wanted to find the point that partitions the segment AB at a ratio of A to B from these 2 points, there's really 3 different parts of this formula. Okay, so the 3 different parts, I have the first point, okay, so wherever I started, in this case, if I'm starting at A, that is going to be whatever the x value of A is. I have my ratio, this A over A plus B. It's going to come from whatever the ratio is. And then this x2 minus x1 that you see here, this is really just the difference between x values. So how far is it between x values? Notice that y is really the same thing, okay? So really that's all we have to know. What's the first point? What's the ratio? What's the difference between the x values? So let's check out some examples here. So first one here says, what are the coordinates of the point on the directed line segment from -9, -7 to -2, that partitions the segment into a ratio of 3 to 4. Okay, so remember, I'm gonna write this out in words or formula. So it's always first point plus ratio times the difference. Okay, and we're going to do that for both the x's and the y's. Okay, so I'm going to kind of break that apart. So let's start with just x, all right? So for the x's, my first x value is -9, all right? So I have -9 plus, okay, the ratio in this case, if my ratio is 3 to 4, that as a fraction is going to be 3 over 7, okay? And then the difference between my x values. So I'm asking, how do I get from -9 to -2? And what I have to do is I have to go up 7. Okay, so my difference here is +7. The sign actually matters here. Okay, so now let's just simplify this thing. If I multiply 3/7 times 7, that's going to be 3. So I have -9 plus 3, and that is -6. That is my x value. Okay. Now we're going to do y, okay, and my first y value in this case is -7. So we have -7 plus, the ratio is still the same, 3 over 7. And then this time, how far is it if I was going from -7 all the way to +7? And we're going up by 14. So that's going to be a +14. Okay, so now if I multiply this out, I have negative 7 plus, that is going to be 6. If I add those, I get negative 1. Okay, so my point is going to be negative 6, negative 1. That is my point that partitions this segment. Okay, so let's take a look at another. It says, what are the coordinates of the point on the directed line segment from negative 7, negative 10 to 7, 4? That partitions in a 5:2 ratio. So remember, formula. Let's write it again. Write this every time so you remember it. First point plus ratio times difference. Okay, so this time my first point is negative 7. So if I start down here with the x's, and let me just write this out, x and y. Okay, so my first x is negative 7. Okay, if I have a 5:2 ratio, my ratio is going to be 5/7. And then my difference, if I'm going from negative 7 to positive 7, that is going up by 14. So here we have 14. Okay, so we have negative 7 plus 10. Negative 7 plus 10 is going to be 3. That is our x value. All right, now y. Okay, so y, we're going to start at negative 10. Ratio is still 5/7. Okay, but going from negative 10 to positive 4, that is also 14. So we're going up by 14. So that's really negative 10 plus 10, which is just 0. So our answer on this one is going to be 3, 0. And that is our point that partitions this segment. Here's another one. Again, the formula. First point plus ratio times the difference. Okay, so again, we're going to find an x and we're going to find a y. So starting with our first x is positive 5. So I have 5 plus, our ratio this time is 1:2. So that's going to be 1/3 times the distance from 5 to 8. You're going up by 3. So it's going to be 3. So we end up with 5 plus 1, and that is 6. Okay, so that's our x value. Now the y value, we start at 5. So 5 plus ratio is still 1/3. Okay, so if going from 5 to negative 4, you're actually going down this time. So you're going to have a negative 9. Okay, that's our distance from 5 to negative 4. So that'll be 5, 1/3 times negative 9 is going to be a negative 3. 5 minus 3 is going to be 2. Okay, so our coordinates here are going to be 6, 2. Okay, here's one last example. Sometimes we might see decimals on this, which is going to happen this time. So again, the formula, we have first point plus ratio times the difference. Okay, so my first x value here, let me just go ahead and draw this out. I have x's, we're going to have y's. The first x value we have is negative 9. So negative 9 plus, if we have a 5:1 ratio, that's going to be written as 5/6, okay? And then going from negative 9 to negative 6, we're actually going up by 3, okay? So now when I multiply this, that's going to be negative 9 plus 15/6, okay? which is really negative 9 plus 2.5. Okay, so when I add that together, that is going to be negative 6.5. That is my x value. Okay, the other one, the y value, where we're starting at negative 3, ratio is still 5/6. Okay, and my difference between negative 3 and 9, we're going up by 12 this time. Okay, so that's going to be negative 3 plus 10. So our point will be negative 3. Actually, if I add that together, negative 3 plus 10, that's going to be 7. So our point is going to be negative 6.5, comma 7. And that is our answer on this one. Okay, so please go check out the assignment on Canvas. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.